have a new vision for America.
Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. We do have enormous income inequality.
Yes, it needs to be more affordable in this country to go to college. It also needs to be more affordable in this country to not go to college.
Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today.
Hey, guys, you know what? America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table. Yes?
We don't have a health care system in the United States. We have a sickness care system in the United States.
Women's reproductive rights are under assault by President Trump and the Republican Party.
The Republican Party likes to cloak itself in the language of religion. To say that it is okay to suggest that God would smile on the division of families at the hands of federal agents, that God would condone putting children in cages, has lost all claim to ever use religious language again.
We need a nominee who has the ability to prosecute the case against 4 more years of Donald Trump, and I will do that.
You're not going to find anybody who has pulled together more of alliances to deal with what is the real stateless threat out there. We cannot go it alone in terms of dealing with terrorism.
Nothing will change unless we have the guts to take on Wall Street, the insurance industry.
And I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country.
Well, those were some of the highlights from last night's Democratic debate. As we told you earlier, 10 candidates went head-to-head in the event, which was televised on NBC News. It was the second of 2 debates this week, and more are coming later on this summer. So, CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now from Miami to talk about last night's debate. So I'll give you sort of the umbrella question, Caitlin. Your biggest takeaways from last night?
Good morning, Emery. Well, the biggest headline, I think, was Joe Biden versus Kamala Harris, or I should say Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden. We were all wondering whether and how these candidates would address the current frontrunner in this race, which is the former vice president. Kamala Harris took that initiative. It was clear that this was part of her strategy to go after the former vice president on the issue of race. And she really wanted to make the case clear to voters that she feels she is best equipped to take on Donald Trump. The other issues that dominated the night were the issues of health care, of the economy. Foreign policy questions came in as well, as did climate change, which is a huge issue in this primary, but particularly here in Florida. But when we're looking at the big takeaways from the night, I think that exchange between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden really was a turning point in the debate and in this campaign.
So the Democratic Party was faced with this dilemma. Maybe it's not a dilemma. Maybe it's a good thing that they have so many people vying for the candidacy that they had to sort of break it up into 2 nights. And they decided to sort of randomly choose who would appear on which night. To me, it made it seem like the second night you had sort of the heavier hitters because you had, you know, at least a couple of front runners with Biden and some others. But I want to get your take on the 2 nights and how they were different.
Right. This is unlike anything that we've seen before and unlike anything the candidates have ever participated in. 10 candidates, 2 nights. These were very crowded stages, and the candidates had really limited amounts of time to make their case. So you could see kind of who prepared best to capitalize on that minute and a half, really, to make your case and make that first impression to voters. Because remember, this is really the first time that a lot of people are actually starting to tune into this campaign, even though it feels like it's been going on forever. The first night, though, the big challenge for those candidates were to break through, which Julian Castro certainly felt like he had his breakout moment. But the challenge was to keep that momentum going into the second day and keep in the news cycle after that second debate. So everybody today is talking about Kamala Harris. I think Julian Castro will have to try to keep that momentum going. The second night, we saw a lot, it was a lot more combative, much more intense, and the candidates brought up Donald Trump frequently. And that was a big difference between this last night and the night before. The first night, lots of these candidates were trying to introduce themselves. The second night, the candidates were trying to say, look, I'm the best positioned to take on Donald Trump.
So, there are a handful of candidates that are polling in the double digits. By far, Biden is way ahead of everyone else. And then there's Bernie Sanders coming in sort of second. But most of the candidates have single digits. And that's all they really needed, most of them, to get on the stage. I'm wondering, how much of a difference do these debates make for these candidates that are, every percentage point in the poll really counts for them right now?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, if nothing else, I think this debate helps the voters kind of sort through, who is in the top tier in their view and who are the candidates that might not be in it for the long run. Talking to voters in all of these early states, we've been on the ground for months. They are now kind of overwhelmed by the sheer number of candidates in this race, and they're ready for the field to winnow down. So I think we'll start to see over the next couple of days, the big focus is going to be on fundraising. The quarter ends soon here, and so candidates are trying to use this debate, capitalize on whatever momentum they believe they have, and try to raise money to stay in this race. And I think we'll be able to see more than polls, really, who is gaining momentum in terms of grassroots fundraising.
Yeah, I think I saw some sort of like a Google graph indicating who was searched for the most after the debate. And of course, it was Kamala Harris. She really sort of differentiated herself. So next stop later on in July, I believe it's Detroit for the next debates. What do you think candidates will be focusing on? How do you think they'll be preparing for this?
Well, a lot of the candidates want to be able to make that next debate, and so they are kind of really focusing on raising the money and getting their poll numbers up, especially after these two debates over the past two nights. They want to be able to say, look, this is what I've done. I've introduced myself, and now here is the next phase. So I think you're going to see the candidates, again, really trying to raise money and stay relevant, but also hitting the trail in these early states. 4th of July is next weekend. It's going to be a busy weekend on the campaign trail. And now that we're into summer, I think the challenge is when people are busy on their summer breaks, on their vacations, how much are they tuning in? And you really have to seek every opportunity to gain attention.
Caitlin, just out of curiosity, different qualifications to qualify for the debate stage next time?
Next time, it's the same qualifications, a certain polling threshold and 65,000 grassroots donors. And then the next two debates after that, that's when they up the ante. It's more fundraising, higher, almost double that number of grassroots donations, and a higher threshold in the polls. So I think by September, October, we will see perhaps a much more narrowed down field.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you so much.
Thank you.